Hi, everybody. This is Jim Havlin from Impact Architects, and this is part of our series on putting together a great annual planning section. So we've had some videos on the agenda and on team health. This will really talk about the planning part of the annual planning section. So typically, the structure of the annual session is about putting away last year, putting away the quarter, doing some team health. So as individuals, as a team, we're getting more healthy. And then we look at the organizational health. And now we want to look at where we sit in the marketplace. And there's two different tools that I typically use for that exercise. SWOT is the most common one. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. If you haven't read about this one, there's lots of great guidance on how to put this together, but it gives everyone a chance to kind of think about, ask the question, what are the strengths of our organization compared to everybody else, right? What are the opportunities out there we're not taking advantage of? So it's a way of breaking down our internal strengths and our external opportunities. It's kind of like what's good and bad internally and externally. That's how it kind of breaks down. That's the quadrants. Weaknesses, things internally that we're not good at yet that we should be good at, anything we can work on. And then threats. These are we just talk about this trends too. It's like things that are going on that we have to address at some point. And the great thing here I like to do is be able to put both ownership of each of the items we might list in here, like, hey, we've got this thing where we got to figure out AI in it. Like everyone's trying to figure that out. Who owns helping to figure that out? Who's going to make sure that stays on our agenda and maybe do some research for that? And then what's the time frame that we're going to look at that? Because we're about to, after we're done with this, move into our 3-year and 1-year planning. Do we have to figure that out this year, or do we have some time to wait before we have to get into it? So all those are great ways to look at the SWOT tool. Sometimes SWOT just doesn't really cut it. It can be difficult for some teams to get a lot of value out of it. So at some point, if we want to go deeper, if we want to make bigger, more intense decisions, we move over to Michael Porter's The Five Forces. There's some in the links. I'll show you some places where you can go get great resources around this. But this is really a way of breaking down the shape of your market, where you sit, and like all the places where you have to have an understanding of competitors or the power of your buyers, people people that are buying your products and you're buying things from, threat of new entrants. These are a great way of thinking about where you sit in the marketplace against these forces around you and how that impacts your ability to make profit. And it can give you great clarity on pricing and give you great clarity on where you can go next to have more power in your marketplace, or places you don't want to go, places you might want to get rid of. So this is a great one to go learn on. But I wouldn't start here. But if you're trying to find a more a complete tool for looking at strategy, this is a much better tool for that. And once you've kind of upgraded your understanding of where you sit in the marketplace, it's time to do that long-term planning. And usually we're going to spend time in two big buckets, in 3-year and 1-year planning. Sometimes it's 5 years, sometimes it's 2 years, some combination of those things where it's not too far out. 10 years out, we don't want to, there's no point in getting into a lot of details, but 1 through 2, 3, 5 years, you might want to say, hey, I'm going to get into some real detail here where I'm going to make specific projections about what I want to try to get accomplished, and then figure out what it would take to get there. So what we typically include in there, you see this format here. This is screenshots from software90.io, which I use with all my clients. How do we map out that future date where, some place where we're going to be sometime in the future, and how we think about revenue and what revenue that needs to be at that future date, what our profit needs to be. We're a business, we have to have those things kind of projected and figured out. This isn't you saying this we have to do. This is what if we're going to go accomplish our goals, this is where we need to be at these various time frames. So you'll do it at 1 year and 3 year, or you'll do it at 2 year and 5 year, whatever you think, whatever you're working on. And then we'll have a set of KPIs or measurables. Like these are the things that will have to be true inside the organization. What kind of, how many customers are we going to have? How many locations are we going to have? How many products do we have in market? All those kinds of things are things that we really want to begin to frame up in our minds. If we're going to accomplish this kind of revenue, what's going to take to get there, and what are the forward-looking numbers, the things that suggest we're making good progress. So if I'm going to have this kind of revenue, that means I'm going to have this many users, this many pizzas that go out the door on a regular basis. And that gives me a sense of scale to think about, oh, I need this many pizza ovens and this many delivery people, and I have to be able to buy boxes. Oh, if we're buying that many boxes, maybe we make our own boxes. Things like that. So, all those scale questions make it much easier for us to start having good planning conversations. And then we come up with goals. In the 1 year plan, we should have very specific goals. We want to be able to get very good at predicting what can happen this year. 3 year, 5 years, we're going to have less specific stuff we're talking about, but we want to start putting some framework around it so that we can ask ourselves the question, what needs to be true for us to be on track? And that's going to help us make shorter and shorter term goals. So, we should always be saying, hey, if this needs to be true in 10 years, where do we need to be in 3 years? Where do we need to be in 1 year? And then every quarter we can go look at those things and say, hey, what do we have to do this quarter to make sure we're on track to get to that thing? So this is our first set of really smart goals. So you want to, and you take them one at a time. Ask yourself the question, what has to be true here? Is this important? How important is it? And sometimes things go away. Last year's 3 year plans, well, look at it this year. Some of them I got to update them. Some I got to move the dates. Sometimes I got to take them off because it's no longer important. It took care of itself. But it gives us a framework for keeping track of this stuff. And one of the things I like to do is make sure every goal has an owner. Someone should own it and be in charge of making sure we're tracking against it, making sure that they're enhancing it when they're preparing for the session, that they're doing everything they can to make sure that we're going to have a great substantive conversation about it, not just like, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that in a whole year. So someone has to be, the steward of that goal and make sure that we're making good progress against it and we're learning about it. Some of the mistakes people make in some of these things is not realizing how hard it can be to predict past 90 days. Our human brain is really only good for about 90 days. After that, we really need these structures to be able to get there. One of the ones I suggest is having a spreadsheet. I suggest a lot of my clients use a reverse income statement to figure out where they need to be and what it's going to take to get there. And then they catalog all their assumptions about, hey, that means that we have to, we're assuming that it's going to take this much dough to make a pizza or whatever it is, or that I can charge this kind of price. The price is going to go up this much every year, whatever it is. You make our assumptions, we catalog them, because then we can check against them. And then we can actually start making a time-based prediction about what it's going to take. So where you're not just sitting in this room trying to do it all on the whiteboard when we're in our annual planning, we're actually revising a spreadsheet with update information on a regular basis so we can start looking at how these things impact each other. So don't take anything for granted. Spend your time, do your research, and put lots of notes in all these plans. So in the 90 software, you can see you've got unlimited space to put information about a plan. Like we have here four new office locations. Here's this place we're thinking about. We might put that office. And we could take notes about each one. Why would we do this one, or why wouldn't we do that one? Update it whenever you get a chance to look at it, because we're going to look at these, whether it's 1 year or 3 year plans, every quarter and ask the question, what do we need to do to make sure this is true on time? All right. So next video will be about some of the things people get wrong about annual planning, and then an overview of all the resources. Thanks.